Shalom. Welcome to the Messianic Hour with Rabbi Scott Sekulow. The Messianic Hour is a program designed to give you insight into the Jewish roots of your faith. Rabbi Scott is also here to answer your questions and help you gain a deeper understanding of Bible prophecy. And now, here's your host, Rabbi Scott Sekulow.
Shalom, I'm Rabbi Scott Sekulow, and this is a special edition of the Messianic Hour, where Israel under attack. We're going to be talking about the situation going on with Israel, how the media is responding to it, how they're giving a very liberal agenda to it, how when you're hearing things on Facebook because of the lopsided number of civilian casualties on the side of the Palestinians compared to Israel, how Israel is really, people are almost against it because there hasn't been more Israeli citizens that have been injured. Reason why? The Iron Dome. It's not because Hamas hasn't tried. Over 1,800 rockets have been sent into Israel, and because of the Iron Dome, they've been able to knock out the majority of them, and we're seeing very minimal casualties. On the other hand, Hamas is using humans to shield their weapons. And I want you to hear this soundbite from Fox News with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Go ahead and roll it.
When you hear people saying the civilian casualties are unacceptable, when you hear people saying this is enough, what do you say?
I say forward that to the one address that's responsible for all this, and that's Hamas. Who wants civilian casualties? Who wants to accelerate and escalate? We're forced to do it. What would you do? What would anybody do? You just have to put yourself in Israel's place, and if you're a leader, put yourself in my place, and ask a simple question: what would you do?
And that's such an important part, because what we're seeing, and I want to encourage you, you need to go to your Facebook accounts and like the IDF, Israel Defense Forces, like their page. You're going to actually see firsthand video of what's going on, how they're finding rockets inside schools and hospitals, and how Israel, when they went to destroy one area that rockets were being sent out, which was in part of a hospital, they confirmed over 2 days that the hospital was closed and that no one was in the hospital. No injured people were in there. They got those confirmations, and only then did they take out those sites that were being used with weapons. And that's really a key understanding. The Hamas is using civilians and using buildings like mosques and schools and hospitals to cover their weapons up. What else can you do? This is where they're putting their bases and where they're putting their tunnels through to come in and infiltrate Israel. That's what we're going to be looking at on this show. We have a very special guest, Barry Siegel from Vision of Israel, for Israel. He's going to be on, on for the second half of the show. Judy and I are going to be talking in the first half about what's taking place and what you're not hearing in the news. Remember in 2012 when Israel had to give all this concrete to Gaza to rebuild their buildings? Well, we're going to find what they really did with that. You're not going to want to miss the show. You want to stay tuned. You're listening to the Messianic Hour. I want to encourage you, go to our website, rabbiscott.com. Sign up for our newsletter, and while you're there, you can support Israel by planting a tree in Israel to help rebuild these forests that are being destroyed by these rockets. We'll be back right after this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Messianic Hour. I'm your host, Rabbi Scott. I'm here with my wife, Judy. This show is dedicated to reaching the lost and educating the found. And we're using this show today to really give you an understanding of what's going on in Israel. The situation with Hamas coming in and using rockets, shooting over 1,800 rockets into Israel. By the way, about 10% of those rockets actually land in the Gaza area and kill their own people. They don't mention that, but this is what's going on with what's happening there. Judy, you want to jump in?
What they don't say either is Hamas is using animals to. I mean, they booby trapped a donkey the other day to cause it to explode.
So, PETA, you need to get over there and you need to start protesting Hamas. You like to protest everyone else? Here's a group that's using animals to blow up people, and of course blow up the animal as well. So every group should be upset with what's going on. The media here in the States are really not giving us a clear picture of what's really going on there. Hamas, the reason why you see this large number of civilian casualties, Israel goes in before they go to attack any area. They have sent phone calls, they've texted people, they've dropped flyers saying to leave the area where you're going to bomb it. What does Hamas do? They tell their people to stay there. I want to encourage you, go to Facebook, like the IDF, Israel Defense Forces, and you can actually see a picture when they went to go hit a terrorist site that the civilians came up on the rooftops and brought their own children.
And you've got to look. You need to not do IDF. It needs to be Israel Defense Forces, the full name.
Full name.
The site where they post updates and everything on.
Right, and this way you can see firsthand what's taking place. Judy, you'd read the article. Talk about what's going on with the tunnels. That's absolutely amazing.
Well, as we know, Israel has sent in. Excuse the reading glasses today, otherwise I can't see. They sent in supplies to Gaza, and part of the supplies that they sent was concrete, and they were supposed to be using the concrete to build schools, rebuild their buildings, but yet they've actually found out that it wasn't being used for that purpose.
Right. Matter of fact, this is the concrete at the end of the last uprising. That this was one of the conditions that was Israel was forced to give in, and they used. Just to give you an idea, in one of the tunnels, it's 1.5 miles long, 66 feet below ground, and had over 8 tons of 800 tons. Thank you, of concrete in this. So where did this concrete go? To build these elaborate tunnels. That's why Israel had to go in and knock these tunnels out. These aren't just a little tunnel like you see from the movies in the past, The Great Escape, where they just dug out a little tunnel and went through. These are done very much deep into the ground, 66 feet down. And if you go to Israel Defense Forces, you can see the pictures. They can put missiles through this. They can put troops in, and that's what they're actually doing. Some of these, they found that they have enough food in there to last for months. And we're seeing them come in, infiltrate Israel, and they're dressing up as Israeli soldiers and attacking not only soldiers but civilians as well.
And a document that was obtained by a news agency basically said the objective of the underground network was to surprise the enemy, i.e. Israel, and to strike it a deadly blow that doesn't allow a chance for survival or escape or allow him a chance to confront or defend itself.
And that's what we're seeing. We've had instances where 10-plus soldiers were killed when they were ambushed through this way. This is how Hamas is coming in. They're digging underground. They're digging deep into Israel and are now coming through. This has to stop. And by the way, these are the same type tunnels they dug into Egypt, and that's why Egypt closed its borders and has been tough on them because of these same type issues. We're seeing Hamas use schools, mosques, hospitals, and they had the weapons in it. Go to the website. You will actually see the videos where the Israeli soldiers are in a school and they have rocket launchers that are in there. That some of them are already empty because they've already been used. Have already been shot from there. And these are some very serious things going on.
And the thing that's really not talked about is that the majority of the people in the Gaza Strip live in just poverty,
right?
And the per capita income of someone there is like $1,165. And what they found out is that they feel that Hamas has sunk more than $1 million into each tunnel,
wow,
in order to keep it maintained. And we know the IDF has found like 36 so far. There's more.
Right.
So that's $36 million that they used for terror versus using to support their own people.
And we say this money, where is it coming from?
Us.
The United States of America. We support Israel. We also support the Palestinians. But now with the new unity government, we are supporting a terrorist organization. And they're being used, the money that's supposed to be going to humanitarian aid and taking care of the people are going to build these tunnels. Why? So that they can come in and destroy Israel. The role of Hamas has always been the same. Their charter is to destroy Israel. They do not want peace with Israel. They want to destroy it. Joe, I want you to run the spot with what President Obama said in the Rose Garden. Can you run that one? I think it's 11 or 12. Hello, Joe. Do we get that going?
I'm sorry.
That spot. Can we roll that spot with President Obama?
Here we go.
Thank you.
Israel has a right to defend itself against rocket and tunnel attacks from Hamas. And as a result of its operations, Israel has already done significant damage to Hamas's terrorist infrastructure in Gaza. I've also said, however, that we have serious concerns about the rising number of Palestinian civilian deaths and the loss of Israeli lives. And that is why it now has to be our focus and the focus of the international community to bring about a ceasefire that ends the fighting and that can stop the deaths of innocent civilians, both in Gaza and in Israel.
Now, I want you to understand, President Obama is saying that we need to stop this, but here's the issue. Israel has already agreed to one ceasefire. Hamas has not. The reason why the death toll in Hamas is in the Gaza is so high is because they're literally using their people as human shields, including their children. Is this Israel's fault? What happens if Canada or Mexico started to attack us? Would we not respond if rockets were falling down upon us? Ask England. They fought against Germany, right? Because what was Germany doing? They were sending rockets and bombs into their area and bombing their area. Israel has the right to defend itself, as our president says. But we also can't lay blame on Israel for the civilians that are being killed because Hamas is the one who is putting them in danger. Israel, with the help of the United States, have developed the Iron Dome using the Patriot missile, which has destroyed 90% of the rockets that would hit civilian areas, civilian populated areas. This is why it's been very important to have that. Again, I want to encourage you, if you've been listening the last couple of weeks, if you're an Apple person, you need to get the app. It's called Red Alert Israel, and it will go off when rockets are being sent into Israel. And this is gives you an area. It's a great. I use it. Matter of fact, we leave it. Normally we have our phones off. If it goes off right now during the show, we're going to be stopping and praying for Israel. Rockets were sent just before the show began, and this is something that's very important. It really gives you an understanding of what's going on and what is taking place and what's happening. Not one rocket's being sent in. Multiple rockets, different areas, and fortunately the Iron Dome is there to protect the Israeli citizens. But as Prime Minister Netanyahu has said, Israel, has used missiles to protect their civilians, where Hamas uses civilians to protect their missiles, and that's a point we have to understand. And when you're sitting around talking at the water, the coffee pot and the watering hole, you have to let people understand why it's so lopsided, because honestly most people aren't paying attention to the news and they're not hearing the true facts of what's going on. When those alarms go, the Israelis have less than a minute to get into their shelter. Judy, you remember the other day the event with the mother with the 4-year-old. Can you tell that real quick, that story?
Well, they live in Sederot, so they have 15 seconds to get to their safe room. And she has a 4-year-old and like a 2-year-old, and she's like, how do you get 2 children to the room in that amount of time? And the 4-year-old started running. The 2-year-old didn't hear it because they were watching TV. They got in their safe room, and then the next thing is a rocket hit their house and destroyed their house, and the only thing that was left standing was their safe room.
So here's a family. These are innocent people. This is what the rockets do coming from Hamas. They're not targeting military sites. They're targeting civilians. The Israeli rockets are targeting military sites, and that's the difference. I want to encourage you, go to our website, rabbiscott.com. Go there, sign up for our newsletter so you can get informed of what's going on. While you're there, bless Israel. Plant a tree in Israel to help restore those trees that are being destroyed by these rockets. When we get back from the break, we're going to have a very special guest, Barry Siegel from Israel. You're going to hear what's going on. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Messianic Hour. Soundbite here of what Secretary Kerry said. I want to get your response.
It's a hell of a pinpoint operation. It's a hell of a pinpoint operation.
Right. It's escalating really significantly, and it just underscores the need for ceasefire.
We've got to get over there. I think, John, we ought to go tonight. I think it's crazy to be sitting around.
When you said it's a hell of a pinpoint operation, are you upset that the Israelis are going too far?
I think it's very, very difficult in these situations. Obviously very difficult. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to have this kind of operation, and I reacted, obviously, in a way that, anybody does with respect to, young children and civilians. But war is tough, and I said that publicly, and I'll say it again. We defend Israel's right to do what it is doing in order to get at those tunnels.
We got about a minute left on the show. I want to get your response on that. Here is our secretary making a sarcastic response, but yet it's a very serious situation when Hamas uses human shields to protect their weapons.
Oh, absolutely. I think there's a bigger issue here involved beyond State Department John Kerry. And I think the bigger issue is that historically the State Department itself has been very anti-Israel and very pro-Arab oil in the Middle East. And therefore the policies were kind of set in concrete decades ago. It's not something new. So it seems like everybody who gets into that position just carries the same line forward. And I think what the United States needs to finally realize is that Israel is America's best ally in the Middle East, and we represent the only functioning democracy in the entire Middle East. And it's time that Americans stop it's time that American taxpayer dollars are no longer sent to the Palestinian Authority, who did construct a unity government with Hamas before this whole situation blew up, especially the kidnapping of the 3 Jewish teenagers who were not military targets, just simply...
Barry, we got to go. We're out of time, but we're going to be praying for you and your family and praying for Israel. Until next week, this is Rabbi Scott saying shalom and pray for the peace of Jerusalem.